right. Hey, everyone. We're here.
Do we have like an opening song, theme song that I can hum along to right now?
We do not.
Oh,
actually,
no.
That's actually not true. On the podcast, we do.
Can I say I want the one I want? I
Sure.
want dun 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 dun.
Oh, Indiana Jones. I see where you're going there.
Dun, 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 dun,
The problem is then it comes to just us talking, so it's not.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not as exciting.
Well, I think about Israel, and I'm kind of like Indiana Jones when I take people to Israel. It's like we
There you go.
Where
Tell
people
me you
have
have
never
an
been.
Indiana Jones
I have a
hat. You do.
I have a
knew
whip.
it.
Come to Israel, and you will see
it.
that. Yeah.
I knew it. Well, we are sitting here over coffee, number one.
Cheers.
Camden, over there in the sound booth, made us these amazing coffees. And it's perfect because we're talking about the coffee shop.
Yeah. I walked in and I got a tear in my eye.
You did, because I was like, we can't have
literally.
this without sipping some coffee. And by the way, really good coffee.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. And this is done on a machine that's not nearly the quality of what we're going to have.
Right. It's
what
on
we're going
its
to
way.
have is, so it's like, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Come on.
So we're enjoying some coffee, and we're about to talk about a coffee shop. Over the last several weeks, you held some desserts. We get a chance to kind of just give the whole vision of a coffee shop on our campus. Let me just say it this way. We have all the plans, all of that. We're going to be submitting soon, yes,
Yes.
to Fresno,
Yes.
to county, to say stamp of approval so that we can begin to actually break ground. So
And we're going to pray that process is expedited.
Yes.
Calling in all prayer warriors to pray big time for that.
Absolutely.
Because they can take a while.
Absolutely. So, Shane, why a coffee shop?
Oh.
Why a coffee shop?
Well, first of all, let me answer that with
if you didn't know, Shane also loves coffee.
Well, for me, the quick answer to that is it all goes back to what is the closest equivalent we can get to first century hospitality, because it's hospitality that changes lives.
Yeah.
Sermons are great. Teaching is great. Billy Graham style evangelism is great. But if I could say it this way, the recidivism rate of people that stick with Jesus are the people that have been changed by people. They've built relationships. They've been encouraged by others. They're not the ones that just come and attend and watch for a while. They really need to get connected. And in the first century, when you wanted to get to know somebody or you wanted to introduce them to Jesus in the Gospels, you'd say, hey, Jesus, come into my home. And you'd invite your tax collector buddies and the disciples, and, you'd throw a party. You'd throw a dinner party.
Right.
Today we don't invite strangers into the home like that.
Not like before, no.
No, if you walked up to a stranger and said, I want to have you over to my house, they would be cautious.
Yeah.
They'd be like,
I
"That's
would imagine.
weird."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but we do live in a culture that it's easy to say, let me buy you a cup of coffee, or
Yes.
let's go grab some lunch.
Yeah.
And that's neutral ground. The church, by and large, is not neutral ground. Most people are scared to come to church. But
Right.
if we can create neutral space on the church's campus that is driven by hospitality, that is driven toward that goal, toward just conversing with people, welcoming people, loving people, conversing with people, getting to know them.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that that's an evangelistic hook.
Yeah.
No apologies. I mean, with the goal of born again, with the goal of conversion, of course. But the other reason is I want our campus to be felt. I want it to feel like it's a tool in the hands of believers to be
Right.
used to reach their friends.
Right. So one of the things I really love about our campus is, number one, how open it is. Drive near us and you can literally see, just about anywhere inside this place.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a park. So there, when we were in the pandemic and we were supposed to be at home and stuff, there was certain days where I would come down here and I would work on the patio here. Just because it was nice to be outside, and it was a really peaceful setting.
Yeah. And
Really
people from all over
relaxing.
the neighborhood do that.
And
They
I was
utilize just the grass.
And I was just going to say, and when I would do that, I would see people walking their dogs.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
brought their family. Kids were learning how to roller skate
Yeah.
or ride a bike
Yeah.
on some of the long sidewalks we had here,
Yeah.
taking the dog for a walk and stuff. And so I will say I love the idea of a coffee shop simply because it gives even more emphasis to just come here. Just come here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about that, we have that kind of traffic without having any intentional method.
Right.
We've done nothing to achieve that, except that, no, it is a beautiful campus.
Right.
And of course, grass provides that. But I mean, there's been nothing intentional. Like when we have a coffee shop, Kim, I'm imagining how easy now is it for us to take, we have taco.
We have our food
Tuesday night
trucks.
food trucks,
Tuesday night,
right?
yeah.
So I was going to say Taco
Yeah.
Tuesday or whatever, but we have our food trucks on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
We could put those in front of we could create our own farmers market every Tuesday night with our
Ooh.
cafe.
Oh,
We could
my
do what
goodness.
River Park does every Tuesday night, but do
Yes.
it here. And it's just another way of saying, guys,
Oh, my
come
goodness.
and hang.
Yeah.
It's a great
That's
spot to be.
So, what started this vision, like specifically for this aspect? I mean, we've grown a lot through the years, right? I remember when we were just the one building, and then all the others we've had built. Now, what started this vision?
Well, for me, it started because we were always talking about having an environment where people come to church service that is more cafe friendly. And I think at one point we were envisioning a meeting room that felt cafe-ish.
Okay, yeah,
And I think that's what we were for me, and I can only speak for myself, until I was sitting with Pastor Kyle
yeah,
for coffee. And he mentioned to me how he just made the observation. We have tons of space dedicated to discipleship and Bible study and worship services. We have no space, not a single room dedicated to fellowship. There's no space dedicated to community.
yeah.
And it was like light bulb, like
Yeah.
ding, 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 ding. That's a miss.
And I would say people might hear that statement and go, yeah, I mean, when I come on Sundays, I get fellowship. When I come to a Bible study, I get fellowship. But there's a difference between already feeling like you're a part of the family
Yeah, yeah.
and coming because of another reason and eventually understanding that you are invited into the family.
Totally.
Right. That's the differences between those. Is that?
Yeah, I'd say that's a good distinction. I would say that's a very good distinction. I think additionally, I know that fellowship happens when we do all of these other things. When you do Bible study,
Yeah.
there's obviously an intuitive fellowship that takes place, but the intention is not that.
Right.
The goal is not that. It is the byproduct.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is dedicated space where that is our intention. We are trying to say this is what community looks like.
Right.
We want to engage you in community.
So
There's
people-
no agenda here.
Yeah. People will go, yeah, Starbucks is like across the street. So why
Right.
don't we let them do it?
Right. It's true.
Yeah.
Why don't we?
Yeah.
But the reality is, and fellowship does happen there, but the reality is you're not getting the same bang of exposing people to your church that you will if you bring them here. I mean, you can take
Right.
them to Starbucks, you can tell them about church, but the reality is you bring them to your campus, that's a whole other level of, yeah, this is where I go to church.
Right.
Oh man, my life's changed since I started coming
Right.
here.
Right.
Yeah, let me
And
show you around.
You made a good point of like how much even many of those places like Starbucks and stuff have changed their philosophy. It's really a lot more. I can order right now on my Starbucks app, right? Go in really quick and grab the drink and come out.
Yeah.
So, they've still got the drive-throughs, and almost all of them, I believe, have the drive-through,
Yes,
right? So
yeah.
the philosophy has changed a little in that they're really just kind of
Oh, their
working
whole
to get-
seating arrangement
Yeah.
now is designed to move you in and out as quickly as possible.
Right. Not
They
necessarily
would
to
prefer,
linger.
I mean, it's money. I mean, they're in it for money. We're not in it for money.
Right.
We can care less, honestly, if we make a profit. I'd like to be able to pay people.
Right.
But we're in it for the experience of
Right.
you can come here and study all day.
Right.
I just think of the outreach to college students. Right now, you've got to go to Old Town Clovis. You've got to go to Tower District.
You got to travel quite a ways.
You've got to travel quite a ways. There's nothing in Northwest Fresno like
Yeah,
that.
no.
And so it's like, let's provide a space that nobody else is doing, and let's do it in the name of Christ.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. We can say, why don't we let Starbucks do that? Why don't we just have fellowship? But the reality is, until you start getting intentional and saying, this is a space dedicated to this, you don't. Everybody could say, I would. I'd take them to Starbucks. Well, when have you done that last? When's the last?
Yeah.
No, I want to give you a tool that's intentionally built for this.
Right,
The
right.
odds are
Right.
you will do that more.
Right. And are we
So-
caring about like the quality? Like is a coffee even like, is it any different than a Starbucks, or hopefully it's better
So
and
much
not,
better.
I mean, like we're not doing
Let
McCafe
me-
out here, are we?
So much better. Yes, totally. It has to be better than Starbucks because we need to build a good reputation. We
Right.
need to have a reputation that, yeah, they serve really good coffee. Obviously, it's a little bit subjective.
Right.
Probably somebody's not going to like it
Yeah.
compared to X
Yeah,
or Y
I
or
prefer
Z.
this one over
Yeah.
this one. Yeah.
But it needs to be a place that it's like, oh no, they're the real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not trying to take an easy road and go
No.
like, we're just gonna we're just gonna figure this thing out as we go.
Because we want a good reputation. Yeah,
Right.
we're not blending Folgers here.
Right. That's great. I also heard you say, we're not really looking to make a profit. So what does the whole thing look like as far as manpower, people working, not working? I mean,
working.
volunteers,
Professional coffee shop.
Yeah.
Hired employees.
Yeah.
It's just that it's not a business. It's a not-for-profit. So all the profit we do make will go to global missions.
Awesome.
So whether that's local or I say global, I mean also local.
Right. When you say
Just
global,
in
you
the
mean
world.
like world in general,
Yes.
right? So that could mean
Yeah.
here, right down the street,
Just
or
whatever the need is at the time, but it's going to go toward outreach and
Right.
mission and helping people.
Right. I remember somebody at one of the desserts asked about free coffee or being able to offer like somebody who's brand new. Are we going to like have these like cards we can give or something we can give to say like, hey, come and get your free coffee with me or whatever.
The thing that I got most excited about when we first started thinking about this 2 years ago is when our Peace Center is actively working at the level that we'd love it to,
Right.
And we're not there yet.
Right.
I love what Enough is doing, our clothing closet, and that ministry team is extraordinary.
Yeah.
But I'm imagining things like that where it's like after we've clothed somebody, it's just easy to say, let me buy you a cup of coffee, and now let me get to know that person.
Yeah.
I'm not just meeting a need.
Right.
I'm saying I care about you as a person. Let's spend some time together.
Right.
And not everybody's going to want to do that.
Right.
But I want to have we want to have an environment in which that's possible.
Right.
And,
do all conversations, this is a sticky one to ask, but I just want to ask it because as you said that right now, I thought to myself, oh man, but I think the thing that I would not like, because, okay, so let me give the example of car sales.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a car. I'll tell you the absolute worst. I don't like driving near a car dealership, even pulling up. I pulled up to one time and went, nope, can't do it. Absolutely can't. The like sharks just begin to like circle around the car and like, I'm just not interested. I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
Is the purpose of every single conversation inside this coffee shop that we want to share, like you need to be saved.
Prayerfully, yes. In truly, no.
Right.
Like prayerfully, is that the desire? Yeah, I want all men to be saved. So prayerfully, but I would say no. I would say what we want is genuine people caring about people, and that emanating the light of Christ.
And you said
it's not like an agenda that I'm here because I want to give you a pitch. This isn't about a pitch. It's about providing an environment where it's easy to say, yeah, this being here has changed my life because Jesus has changed my life.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. You said something. The reason why I brought it up that way is because that's where my brain goes.
Yeah.
Like I do absolutely not want to become, that sounds bad, but I just, because
No,
I feel
I
like
get
because I feel like it puts a bad taste in someone's mouth, the other person, not necessarily the me person, but and just sit down, get them a cup of coffee and get to know them is what you just said.
That's exactly right.
I feel like that's so important to say.
I feel like it's wrong. Okay, so when we talk about being a witness in general, so this whole thing is to be a witness.
Right.
When we talk about being a witness in general, I feel like it's a mistake for Christians to feel like in one conversation, I need to close the deal with you and I need to get you to pray the sinner's prayer.
Right.
First of all, praying the sinner's prayer, saying those words doesn't save you anyway.
Right.
It might make a Christian feel good that they did that with somebody, but it's a matter of belief in the heart and confession with the mouth for real. That's a progressive experience. It doesn't just happen overnight. So what I'm concerned about is people see that we're the real deal. Jesus has really changed our life. That salt and light is attractive to them, and they consider Jesus. But that may take years.
Right.
That may take months. In the meantime, you're my friend.
Right.
And I'm just glad we're together.
Right.
And so but we're just providing an environment. Our mission statement, it will always be our mission statement.
Right.
To create a positive faith environment where growth is likely.
Yeah.
Where people will grow.
Right.
And so adding community helps that. That's the fertilizer for love. And
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think it's so important to make those distinctions because you and I grew up, well, we're a little few years between us.
Yeah, well, I'm a little older.
Just a few
All
years,
in-
not
yeah.
not a ton.
Yeah.
But the idea is that I really felt like the influence when we were younger is all about the closing the deal type of witness. You mentioned handing out tracts and
Yeah.
right, and I absolutely remember being in youth groups that did that, but me not really wanting
Right.
to do a ton of that. Like I always felt like, oh man, that's so hard. I just want to talk with people, and like I just want to get to know them. Like to me, it was less about like me handing them something and more about like I just want to hear your story. Like I just want to get to know you, and I want you to get to know me, and I want us to be friends. And that was just kind of more my point, as opposed to I always felt like that car salesman like handing out things. And I get that like in all aspects, people receive that in different ways. You do have to have people. There's absolutely a ton of people. I'm sure millions of people who have been saved by that means.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
So I do believe there are different strokes for different folks, right?
Right.
So I do think that's important. But I also just like, I want to make that distinction because I think it's so important to go, hey, just love each other well.
Well, it's just love each other well. And it's not that I'm saying we shouldn't, I mean, to be clear, it's not that I'm saying we shouldn't proselytize or try and convince people of the truth of the gospel.
Yes.
No, we should. Scripture says that we should.
Right.
And we should be okay with having the conversation.
Yes.
But what I'm trying to say is that you're not an object to be won. I'm not earning a brownie point with God because you just prayed a prayer with me.
Yes.
And I'm not even responsible. It's the Lord that opens your eyes to him.
Right.
All I'm trying to do is say, here's what Jesus has done in my life.
Right.
And
and
I'm just praying that God will use that.
Right.
You know, Scripture says the one thing we're all called to be is His witnesses. We're supposed to just bear witness to.
Right.
Man, God's done something remarkable in my life.
Right.
So,
Right. I think of the woman at the well. Right. That's a lot of what that story is.
Yeah.
Just come and meet this guy that told me everything about my life. And
yeah.
that was it. I mean,
and she wasn't even sure he was the Messiah at that point.
No, she was.
She's just like, this could be him.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
so see, that's the kind of organic thing we're talking about. She hadn't learned to memorize script. She didn't learn a theology. The gospel is not a systematic theology. People think it is. Well, I have to learn how to share it. No, the gospel is an event in history. That's what it is. It's news that something in history happened that's changed my life. Now, let me just tell you how.
Right.
I may not have all the theology worked out.
Right.
I don't need to.
Right.
I just,
Right.
You know.
And again, every level, right? So you have those people that when they do become saved, they really want to dig in. They really want to know. That's great. You should do that by all means. And there's some that just really, I'm just going to hold on to this one part of faith, and that is that I know that Jesus died for me.
Yeah.
And I'm really pumped to tell other people about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
just good at that
Yes.
like level of excitement and joy.
Yeah.
So a coffee shop over, gosh, we have grounds on our campus to do a sports complex or, so many other things.
There are so many things I wish I could talk about that I can't right now, that I will love to talk about in the future.
Yes.
Things happen the way that we'd love for them to happen, prayerfully.
Yes.
But yeah, no, we want to do all of that. Somebody just asked, well, why, wouldn't sports, for example, be more effective as an outreach tool?
Yeah.
And in some ways it would.
Yeah.
I'd concede that. But it's just not the same thing. You can use anything as an outreach tool.
Right.
But the reality is when we're talking about just day in and day out casual traffic, when we're talking about the kind of organic community that just comes without agenda, the sports thing wouldn't do that.
Right.
That's an organized thing where
Right.
we're using this is otherwise if that were true, then the sports thing would be a business plan and we'd have them up as like we do cafes.
Right.
And fast food places.
Right.
The reality is for that type of organic stop in, stop out, the reason why coffee still booms is because people like to stop.
Right.
And they like to go in and they like to drink.
Linger.
Yeah,
they like
linger.
to linger.
Yeah,
So we're okay with loitering.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, bring on the loitering. Yes. Yes.
But ultimately, what you were saying is that, no, it's not a sports complex right now.
But that in the future.
Right.
Yes. Here's what I meant. Here's what I really want to see. I mean, honestly, if we're just dreaming right now, why don't we? Let's just dream for a minute. I would love to see our campus and any extension of it feel almost like a retreat center. I mean, or picture what River Park is. It is a place where you go to vibe, and then there are things to do while you're vibing.
Yeah.
And I would love to have a a turf soccer field, and I would love for there to be a softball diamond, and I'd love for there to be volleyball nets, and because there's a reason why parks work too. Parks are
Yes.
very much like the cafes.
Yeah, I was exactly what I was
Families
gonna
do
say.
come
I
out.
was
So
gonna say,
no, think of a
jungle gyms and
park.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Yes, to
But
all of it.
to me, it's like with the last week of this Come and See series, we're going to talk about We Never Stop Dreaming.
Right.
So we're going to be looking at some of those future things beyond this particular campaign.
Right.
But it's one
Right.
step at a time.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is, but wait, there's more.
Yes. But wait, there's
But
more.
wait, there's
Yeah.
more. A lot of people asked a lot of different questions while we were in these desserts. Questions about like, how can we guarantee success of the coffee shop and stuff like that. I really feel like you've done a good job of kind of explaining. You actually say something in the desserts that you haven't mentioned here. So I'm going to actually go back to it for just a moment right now. And that is, success of the coffee shops. There's actually something built in to the cost of this building and everything, correct? Am I right?
Yeah.
So speak to that for a moment. That might
when you
help.
say there's something built into the cost.
Yeah, you talk about, at least in the desserts, you talk about that first year.
Oh,
that we're,
yeah. Okay. So the campaign. So it's a $4.5 million campaign
Right.
that we're raising. And we built into that cost actually isn't just the building itself.
Right.
We've also included the expenses of the first year startup for the cafe business because as you know, it really takes 2 years
Yes.
to really make something successful.
Yes.
But the leadership within the church, people who have already stepped up to say, I want to be a part of this.
Right.
I believe in it. If you can call them they're not this, but like our venture capitalists that have stepped up to say we want to be a part of it. They're not going to make any money because they're giving it, but I'm just saying they've invested.
Right.
They said, man, you've got to just make sure that you include first year startup costs, salaries, supplies, equipment. And so we've tried to do that as well. So it's not just the building.
Yeah, that's great.
And by the way, I mentioned this in church, but just to say it again so that people get it, there have been enough people that have bought into the vision prior to ever starting the campaign that we're already just over 50% of the way there.
That's amazing.
So really, we're only raising $2.25 million with the rest of the congregation
right.
at this point.
And one thing that we don't have a chance to do
in a 3-year time span.
Right, yeah. That's for sure. Not in the next...
Not like overnight.
Exactly.
But we're getting people to make commitments for 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, really quick, I'm going to mention that, and I'll mention it again at the end. If you want to make a commitment to that, I'm going to put some links in the video to help you do that if you haven't had a chance to do that on Sunday, to do that. But basically, I wanted to go back because one of the things we don't get a chance to do when we're doing this style, which we got a chance to do when we did the desserts, is visually see what this looks like. Yeah. And so I'm just going to quickly, you can stop me anytime you think I should stop, basically to just kind of expand. This is not just a building of a coffee shop. This is an extension of the patio covering over our worship center.
Much bigger than just the coffee shop.
Creating up to 6 different spaces where people can kind of sit, linger. There's an amphitheater. It's going to change the way our baptism pool is kind of. It's not where it's at. Where it's at will remain the same, but the coverings around or the bars we have around it right now will change. Yeah. We can see through it. Yeah. That can open up. There's some sliding doors that can open up and actually walk in.
It's a very open environment. The vibe. I mean, it's vibe. Yeah. What I told the architects when we were walking around. I mean, first, this is going back now a year and a half, but was think Disneyland. You start to experience Disney vibe before you ever get into a land.
Yes.
It's like, before you ever even get into you can go experience Disney vibe without ever going into the parks.
Right.
But it's because they've done something with atmosphere. So what we're aiming for is positive faith environment. You're getting that long before you enter the worship center.
Right.
And especially as it relates to community fellowship and outreach. Yeah. Just that people really get that this is a place for you. This is a church for our community. It's not closed. It's not for us.
Yes.
It's not for insiders.
Right.
It's for everybody.
Right.
No matter where you are. Yeah. You may not even believe in Jesus. It's for you too.
Right. Yeah.
The church is the people. Yeah. The building is everybody's.
Right. Right. So we're not building more buildings just to build more buildings. We're building more buildings to say, hey, everybody's invited. If the worship center feels a little too difficult for you to step into, here's something that's a little bit lower, right? Lower commitment, lower. You just get a chance to enjoy some coffee.
Multiple, like you said, 6 different spots. There's video screens up all over the place. People can watch the worship service anonymously. If they're a little nervous about coming in, they can. Point is that I'm not trying to make it easy on people in the sense they're not challenged, but the reality is I'm leaving spiritual growth up to God. I'm just trying to meet people where we are. To me, the heart of good evangelism is the heart of reaching people is we do what Jesus did and we always meet people where they are, not where we think they should be. That's what Jesus does. Jesus always comes to our level. That's the whole point of him becoming flesh. That's the incarnation. He tells us in Philippians we should have that same attitude. So to me, this is just a saying, here's the way people are today. Let's meet them where they're at
and see what happens.
Love them. Yeah,
and see what happens.
So,
so we actually seen this successful in several different. So we've seen this successful at Saddleback Church. We've seen this successful at a church up north called, is it Granite Bay? Am I right? Granite Bay?
I don't remember, but you're talking about Thrive.
Bayview.
Yeah,
That's it.
Where
Bayview
the Thrive
Church
Conference is.
for the Thrive Conference.
Yeah.
And
Locally.
we've seen it, and I was just going to say, and we've seen it just up the street at Cross City,
Clovis.
in Clovis, where they're doing their coffee shop.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And so we've seen it a little far from us, and we've seen it successfully happening here locally as well.
Yeah.
And it's not in competition. They are on a way other side of town from us.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, if this were already happening like right here, it's not to say that we wouldn't do it, but it gives pause to how you're doing. I mean, honestly, it's like the reality is there's a need.
Yeah.
We will hit a need in Northwest Fresno. Yeah. There's a niche need.
Well, I'll say out of just experience over the last couple of weeks, as we have been planning for this Come and See series and all of that. In fact, over the next couple of weeks, that's one of the things I've been doing is just reaching out to people and wanting to have them sit like we are right now and give their kind of come and see experience over these next 4 weeks.
That's awesome.
And so in doing that, though, what's funny, it's so funny. So we're having them come and see, like, share a story about Come and See.
Yeah.
While we're in a campaign about a coffee shop.
Right.
And the coffee shop is meant to be this place where you sit down and talk and get to know each other, right? So that's exactly what we'll be doing Wednesday night.
Yeah.
But before I ever sit down with somebody, I meet with them over coffee to talk about their life. And so it's hilarious as I'm making appointments with people at area Starbucks now to sit and talk about their Come and See experience. And I chuckle because I'm like, man, it's like, we're doing the thing we want to do already. It's happening in these places.
Oh, totally.
Well, it's going to be fantastic to at some point be like, we just want to talk about your testimony. Come meet me at the coffee shop here, Yeah.
It's just like we're always sharing good things in our life. We always do Come and See.
Yeah.
When we watch a show.
Yeah.
Man, did you hear that show?
100%.
When we go to a sports game, it's like, man, that was so cool. When we've gone to a party we've liked.
Yeah.
All we're doing is trying to say, when God's doing something good in your life, why not say, man, I'm having an experience going to this church and, dude, check this out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really making a difference for me.
Absolutely.
And we're just trying to give that tool so that it's easy for people.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So one of my last questions would be, okay, Shane, we're sold on this. When is this going to happen? Like, when can we imagine ourselves sitting inside this place?
Well, I'm hoping that like next fall, like we'll be able to do ribbon cutting and all that kind of stuff.
Not meaning this fall, 2022.
Yeah. No, 23.
2023.
Yeah. By the time all the buildings.
So basically, what we're saying is we're having to wait.
I'm saying I'm hoping. Yeah.
We're having to wait. Clearly, we'll be at the Fresno County or however that works. Mercy there for a little while, and then once we get past all of that, it'll be a groundbreaking, and then however that process takes us.
And let me just say, there no matter how much we talk about this, I know there are skeptics that say, well, but we don't need, we don't need. Let me. I just want to speak to that for a second. We can say that about anything.
Any of it.
We're sitting in a room right now that at some point there was somebody saying, well, you don't need that.
Right.
We're worshiping a building that somebody was saying, well, you don't need that. And technically, they're not wrong.
Right.
We could say that about a college.
Yes.
We could say that about a classroom.
Right.
In other words, there's always there's other ways to do this. But the point is, we invest our energy and our money and our time in things that are important.
Right.
The gospel's important.
Yes.
And why not put strategy to how we communicate hope and love to
Yep.
people.
We literally just had somebody, this last week who was doing that when you doing your come and see this last, kicking off the series and saying, this is why I don't understand why building, why it's exactly what they were saying.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing you say is ultimately, this is only one of many ways.
Yeah.
We're not putting a limit. We're not saying this is the way the Lord's going to work in this next season. We're saying all the ways he can work through all the ways. We're just going to provide another step, another level, another opportunity for people to possibly, just maybe, start their journey to know who Jesus is by coming to get a cup of coffee or studying here or hanging out here or whatever. Just because.
And I was just thinking the other day about this because of sometimes the skepticism that comes up, because we can always default to that. Do we need? I was thinking, gosh, how many building plans did God motivate the people of Israel to do? And it's like, well, gosh, you could have said to God, well, God, do we need that tabernacle? Well, God, do we need that? We can worship you out here. Do we need that? And it's like, no, the Lord said, I want you to build this because there is something to building a place for the intention of worship and the purposes of God.
Right. Well, and I think to the level of commitment, I mean, like the faith that the people have to show to commit to giving, to commit to seeing it through. I think of the uncomfortableness that will come as we start to break ground on this, how we might not be able to use some of the sidewalks we're used to using, the part of the parking lot we're used to parking in, right? Yeah. Exactly. And yet in that, if we choose to see the bigger picture and be a little uncomfortable possibly with what it normally looks like or normally feels like, the investment of a person to say, I'm going to set aside my preferences, my, how uncomfortable I might feel right now because it's an investment for later that somebody else might come to know Jesus because it's all right.
Yeah.
I still get to come here to worship.
Yes.
Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I tell you, do we have to cut it off? We're right at the end.
Last thought, Shane.
I got to tell you one cool thing. This came up at one of the desserts. Because we're creating such an expanded courtyard with 5 additional spaces for groups to meet and people to hang out and all that, in addition to the coffee shop. Somebody was bringing up how much parking we're going to lose.
Right.
They were concerned about that.
Yes.
And so they just made the point of talking about how, especially for people that have disabilities or people who can't park close, what are we doing to make sure they can have access? Because now there's more courtyard to walk through, which is legitimate.
Yeah.
So somebody else heard that at the dessert, and they came up with an amazing idea that I know Tina in our guest services, our fellowship department is working on under Pastor Kevin. And that is, how restaurants have started doing this this pull up and text us that you're here and we'll bring your order out to you?
Oh, yes.
So just creating spots so that people with disabilities, you can text the number and we'll send the shuttle to your car and pick you up and bring you in.
I love that. That is so cool.
It's like, what a good solution to that. Like, it's like.
I love it.
Yeah, and then also.
I love it.
So anyway, I like that idea.
Well, and we learn so much more when we bring forth our thoughts and our concerns, right? Because then in the group, they're like, oh, well, that's an easy fix. We can just do this.
I wish we could have been doing all this whole time.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And honestly, that's something we could start doing right now. Yeah, that's fantastic. Any final thoughts?
Why haven't we? Need to. We need to. Whoever's hearing this.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Yes. It's coming. Maybe by the time you hear this, we're already doing it, right? Yeah. Any final last thoughts you have as we kind of?
Oh man,
we had another 4 weeks of come and see.
I would just say, please come and listen to the services, and at least be willing to try and internalize some of the biblical values behind it. Whether you agree or not, it's the best strategy or the most effective strategy. I know that's all debatable,
right?
But it's the biblical values that matter. And I just say we just keep trying stuff.
Yeah. No, I kind of feel the same way when it comes to all this stuff. Like, let's just fail fast and find the way forward and all that fun stuff. So, yes. Okay. So I'm going to put a link into this last Sunday's message, which you were on fire for. So many great moments in that message.
And the videos in the CG video.
Yes,
or we can put a link even to the video.
Absolutely, so that you can actually see the vision behind what that will look like and how much our campus will change. So we'll put all those links inside there for you guys. Guys, we just, more than anything, we're a church that just doesn't want to be stagnant or settle for, we've arrived, this is good, we're good. No.
Never.
Always growing. always challenging ourselves to deeper faith and deeper understanding for what Jesus can do. May we never say no to whatever he has for us next. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So join us with the yes and come and see. And guys, go and make it a great rest of your week. Yeah? I'll see you on Sunday.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.